you saw yesterday, we were in conversation with one activist as well as a journalist who was talking about the developments around, of course, Job Sikhala, who is a Zimbabwean, a prominent, in fact, opposition politician. Also, of course, reading that he's been found guilty and fined. And, of course, it's either he pays the fine or he spends an additional 6 months in prison. And this, of course, drew some criticism, while others are saying that they do understand this sanction. But some of those who don't talk about how this could be a step back when it comes to freedom of expression. Let's now give a right of reply to Tafadzwa Mugwadi, who's a ZANU PF spokesperson. Thank you so much for your time. Do appreciate it. Let's start first with your reaction to the court's ruling.
Well, thank you very much. I think I see fairness in that, because Job Sikhala on this matter is being accused and was convicted for obstructing the course of justice by spreading rumors and propaganda, political propaganda on a crime scene. Remember last time we had a very good discussion here about it, and I was very clear as we discussed that, it would be advisable for politicians to avoid politicizing crime scenes and allow the law enforcement agents and the justice system in Zimbabwe to deal with the crime. And we saw that happening very well when Pius Jamba, the culprit in what was the murder of a young woman, More Blessing Ali, being arrested and imprisoned, and now his matter is before justice and has been denied bail since he was arrested and ever since the crime took place. So we don't know and why Mr. Job Sikhala had to cut before the horse to try to start to politicize what was a clearly apolitical crime scene. He was convicted for that and is supposed to pay a fine, I'm sure, and the rest is up to the courts. It is not always advisable to delve deep into matters of the courts, because it's a sacrosanct independent part of the state.
Some have said it's not as sacrosanct as we may think it is, and what you've just said, others saying that it does show that the courts are playing politics. So how do you respond?
Well, the person who was playing politics is the culprit here, and the convicted person who is Mr. Job Sikhala. Because remember, we had a discussion here. I'm very good at reflections, Let's reflect on the discussion we had last time. It is very clear we are a constitutional republic. We have a constitution in place and statutes in place which clearly outlines what individuals must do and must not do, or otherwise they will be breaking the law. And there is no doubt, even from his lawyers, that Mr. Job Sikhala broke the law by clearly seeking to politicize what was an ordinary crime scene, where a young woman was murdered needlessly over matters unrelated to politics at all. So the lesson here, my dear sister, is that politicians must stick to genuine politics and engage politics from an informed perspective, and avoid seeking to make news out of nothing by politicizing situations that are otherwise not related to politics. Here, what is clear is that Mr. Job Sikhala was obsessed with incriminating ZANU PF, incriminating the police by making the public believe that ZRP was not doing its job, which it did. And that is why the culprit is in jail. I'm so surprised why no one would want to talk about the culprit being in jail as of now, but people are talking about Mr. Job Sikhala. Let me just take you back to say, refer me to any constitutional republic or a constitutional jurisdiction that is no jail or correctional facilities, as it were, to provide remedy for people such as Job Sikhala and others that I cannot name, because there are so many of them. When people commit crime, they face the law. It doesn't matter their rank or file in society and what is their station in their politics. If this director of information was to commit a crime of that magnitude, I will face the law. That is
So, Mr. Mugwadi, one of the things, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, and as you're answering us now, I'd like to then latch onto that and then say, do you find that the criticism is unwarranted then? Because some of what, has been said is that Amnesty International, for example, and I'm borrowing from them, they say that the arrest and the perennial detention of Sikhala and other activists, along with the banning of some political meetings, shows the current president's willingness to use the justice system against his political opponents. So I suppose, listening to what you're saying then, you think this criticism is unwarranted?
Let me just advise you that indeed, we are not a stupid republic or a fool as a system. In fact, what we know and what everyone knows is that ZANU-PF as a political organization and the government of Zimbabwe as a system of government in its democratic manifestation has received a lot of dressing down that is unwarranted. We have received unbridled insults by people that are completely undemocratic. Each time when a Zimbabwean politician has been arrested for what they have done, which is clearly blatant, brazen, and for everyone to see, people, instead of trying to provide advice to such politicians to avoid from doing those things, they start blaming ZANU-PF, they start attacking the government of Zimbabwe, they start attacking the justice system in Zimbabwe. And as I'm speaking right now, we have got people who are going about profiling justice officials in Zimbabwe for supposed retribution some other day, tomorrow, assuming they become a government, of course, which they will never be. But you have seen such kind of things happening, and it's all there for everyone to see. No one
How certain are you that they'll never be government?
Zimbabwe.
How certain are you, though? Pardon me for coming in there. How certain are you that there'll never be government? What makes you so sure?
Well, we are a methodical political organization that is scientific in its mobilization, And by the way, you know that we are the part of the people of Zimbabwe's revolution.
But would you
no doubt about that.
Would you then maybe say that that's a bit of a dangerous statement to make, particularly when you look back at the history of your country, how some people have been talking about, you'd have opposition parties saying the votes were rigged or the elections were rigged. So would you say that the statement you're making is a fair one?
I don't know why you suggest that is dangerous. You have a ruling party in South Africa called the ANC.
We asked them the same questions.
Allow me to answer. You have a ruling party in South Africa. Is it wrong or dangerous for Comrade Fikile Mbalula to say the ANC will always win because it is the torchbearer of the South African People's Revolution? Would you say that is a dangerous statement? You would want to suggest it is dangerous because it would appear to me you are driven by, again, this desire to besmirch our government and our ruling party. No. We will not win these elections because we rig them, but we will win these elections because we are methodical and systematic in our mobilization. And that is why we carry the people on our shoulders and the people carry their part on their back. It's a symbiotic relationship that you can never take away. We brought independence to Zimbabwe under the Second Republic of President Emerson Mnangagwa. We are delivering the goods. You know very well that the Zimbabwe you are seeing now under President Mnangagwa is completely a radical departure from the Zimbabwe you used to have then. We have done so much. We have delivered the promise. We are carrying the torch. We know where we are going. We know where we are. We have a shared vision with the people of Zimbabwe. President Emerson Mnangagwa is ready again to continue on that trajectory to ensure that we take Zimbabwe into a middle-income society by 2030. That's what the people want. We have the vision. We have the strategy. We have the leader. We have the visionary. We have everything to ensure that we win. So we cannot be afraid then to declare that we are going to win the elections. We will win, that is why we are working.
And talking about what you're just saying, I'm keen to hear your thoughts then before I ask you the final question on this particular Job Sikhala matter, that what then becomes the ZANU-PF's reaction, and you talk about a different Zimbabwe that we're seeing right now to what we see emerging from the docu-series of the gold mafia there.
Well, which gold mafia? Let me tell you, I don't know why. Some newsrooms overestimates and overemphasize their usefulness in our republic. Our people know what is happening on their backyard, and they know that this is well choreographed, and we're expecting this. And we know that they haven't started. We're expecting much more. We are used to this every time when we are moving towards elections. There are always documentaries and well-choreographed strategies and shenanigans to besmirch ZANU-PF, to besmirch the presidential candidate of our party. We've seen that even before President Mnangagwa became president, former President Robert Mugabe was always subjected to that. So we are used to that because each time when that happens, we actually become much more popular than what they expect. So we're not taking anything about that gold mafia nonsense. After all, the mafia that was in those videos, are not Zimbabweans. I'm sure you have seen a lot of white people. They must have themselves to explain what they were doing.
Mr. Mugwadi, who then is behind that?
Who?
Who is behind this particular thing that you're saying now when it comes? Because you're saying that these are just, you know, an overinvestment of the time trying to tarnish the reputation. So who would you say, in your view, is behind that?
Of course, the misinformed newsrooms behind driving such a narrative which they cannot account themselves and whose truth they cannot verify and whose veracity of the whole thing they cannot substantiate. And of course, behind them are naked imperialists that have always tried us for 23 years with the sanctions, but they failed. Each time they come with a different strategy, it makes us stronger, makes us more united as a people, makes our people more patriotic, and makes our people more ZANU-PF and ready to support their government and their party, even when they are doing that to seek to split them and divide our people and make our people scream. So we are used to that, and we are waiting for more, but let them bring it on the table, and every time they do, we become much more stronger because we are better hardened.
Mr. Mugwadi, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your thoughts this evening. Do appreciate that reaction, that right of reply there to Tafadzwa Mugwadi, ZANU-PF spokesperson.